What if the real sign of being wealthy wasn't the number sitting in your bank account, not your monthly salary, not even the car you drive or the brand name of your clothes, but something invisible and flowing constantly like a river that few people truly pay attention to? Something that moves behind the scenes, powering every opportunity, every investment, every financial leap someone ever makes. Something called cash flow. And if I tell you that most people living today, even those earning big salaries, are financially fragile because they misunderstand this one concept, because they chase money instead of chasing movement of money, the flow of it, the circulation of it, the direction it takes, the rhythm of how it comes and how it goes. And that is where the true difference between broke and wealthy actually begins. You start realizing that wealth is not about having. It is about maintaining and generating. And cash flow is the real heartbeat of financial life. People sometimes look at rich individuals and assume they are rich because they have stacks of money somewhere in a vault or a bank account overflowing with zeros. But that is not how real wealth works. Because real wealth is more like a living thing, something breathing, something that circulates, something that renews itself, something that doesn't just stay still. It grows, expands, reinvests, and multiplies itself. And that growth happens through the consistent inflow and outflow called cash flow. Think of two people. One earns $10,000 a month from a job and spends $9,500 to maintain their lifestyle, leaving only $500 left, while another person earns $3,000 a month passively from rental properties, dividends, or small businesses, and only spends $1,500 to live, leaving $1,500 in free cash every month. According to society, the first person looks richer, drives a nice car, has a modern apartment, maybe wears premium brands. The second seems simple, maybe even average. But the truth is, the second person has more wealth power because they have higher positive cash flow, and that means they have more freedom, more flexibility, more breathing room, more ability to invest, more ability to take opportunities when they appear. Cash flow is not just money, it is control. It is the power to make decisions without fear. It is the ability to say yes to good opportunities and no to bad situations. It is the difference between working because you must and working because you choose to. Most people don't get this because they are trained to think income equals wealth. But income is temporary. Income is fragile. Income stops the moment your job stops. Income disappears when your ability to work is interrupted. Income is like a tap controlled by a boss, a company, or a system. But cash flow from assets is different because cash flow is its own generator. Once you create it, it keeps going independent of your time, independent of your hours, independent of whether you wake up early or not. And that is why every wealthy person, every entrepreneur, every investor focuses not on how much they earn, but on how their money moves, where their money goes, how their money grows. The goal is not to work harder. The goal is to make money work harder. And yet the world teaches the exact opposite. Schools tell you to get a job. Jobs tell you to work more hours. Society tells you to spend more when you earn more. People buy expensive things the moment they get a raise because they think they are leveling up. But all they are doing is increasing their expenses and destroying their cash flow. The wealthy do the opposite. When they earn more, they do everything to keep their expenses low and push the extra money into assets that generate more cash flow. That is the real strategy. That is the real secret. That is how wealth compounds. Cash flow is the reason the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. Poor and middle class earn money and spend it. The wealthy earn money and redirect it into things that generate more money. This is why, if someone tells me their salary, I don't care. If they tell me their savings, I still don't care. But if they tell me their monthly cash flow, now we are talking. Cash flow reveals how stable someone is financially. Cash flow reveals how close someone is to financial freedom. And cash flow reveals whether someone is building wealth or just surviving paycheck to paycheck. The moment someone understands that the real game is not about collecting money, but circulating money through assets, everything changes. At first it feels slow. It feels boring. It feels like nothing is happening. You buy an asset. It gives you a small return, maybe a few dollars. Maybe a few cents. You might say it's too little, but that is how every empire starts. A seed, a drop, a beginning, and then you add more. You add again. You keep building. You keep pushing. Until one day, your cash flow reaches a point where your life no longer depends on your job. That feeling is indescribable. That is freedom. That is peace. That is wealth. And this is where most people fail. Not because they can't make money, but because they can't hold money. They can't direct money. They can't control the flow. They spend at the same speed they earn. They chase lifestyle instead of financial stability. They chase image instead of foundation. But if you start now, if you start small, if you start focusing on cash flow instead of income, you can shift your whole financial destiny. Cash flow is not only financial, it is psychological. When you have consistent positive cash flow, your mind changes. You don't panic when emergencies happen. You don't drown in stress. You don't feel trapped. You think clearly. You make better choices. You move differently in life. And that is the real wealth. The wealth of a calm state of mind. The wealth of knowing you're safe. The wealth of knowing your life is not at the mercy of your employer. The wealth of knowing the world does not control you because you control your cash flow. So ask yourself now, what kind of wealth are you actually chasing? The wealth that looks rich, or the wealth that stays rich? Are you building a lifestyle, or are you building financial freedom? Because in the end, the world will always try to distract you with fancy things, but your cash flow will always tell the truth about your financial reality. So take this moment and commit to building your flow, building your stream, building your financial heartbeat. Because wealth begins the moment your money starts working harder than you do. And if you really understand this message today, your life will never remain the same again.